Our journey to break down all of the NFL divisions continues, this time with the AFC South. We'll go over each team's chances in the division, predicting the order of finish, and if any team will get in as a wild card. We'll also discuss a couple of key fantasy players in the division, all of that, plus how to win a valuable prize coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
Michael, today is the AFC South. I call this the haves and the have-nots division.
Yeah, well, if it's anything like it was last year, you're right. I think we had two teams that were better than 10 wins, with the Titans and the Colts both finishing 11-5. Titans winning the divisions, Colts getting in there as a wild card. And then the Texans were 4-12, and the Jags, they got one win. I think that win was a week that you picked against them in our survivor pool, but who's counting?
Move on. Bad memories.
So what about this year, Eric?
The odds makers think that Indianapolis Colts are the slight favorites, plus 105. Bet 100 to win 105 for the Colts to be the new division winners. Right behind them is Tennessee, plus 110. And then it gets long. Jacksonville, plus 800. And Houston, the longest of long shots in anywhere in the NFL, not just this division, to win the division. Houston is plus $2,800. Michael, you can throw away $100 for the chance to win $2,800.
No chance I'm taking that bet, but we'll talk about that in just a second.
All right. Well, we want to remind everybody, we do this division overview for all the divisions. If you can look in the description to see the links to the other divisions. Let's get into it, Michael. Let's start with the Tennessee Titans. You know, in the last year and a half, the Titans have scored a league best 93 touchdowns. That's 10 more than Kansas City and Green Bay because they have stars everywhere. Led by Derrick Henry, who's rushed over 2,000 yards last year. Ryan Tannehill proved he's not a fluke from 2019 with a solid 2020 campaign. A.J. Brown for the 2 years in a row, 1,000-yard receiver. And even though they lost Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, who cares? Because they have some guy named Julio Jones.
Yeah, what an addition. What an addition.
Yeah, I think from a fantasy standpoint, I think Julio Jones owners who may think that he'll do what he did last year may be a little bit of a bust. But I think he'll be perfect for this Tennessee team. I think he'll be a big difference maker. What do you think of the Tennessee offense?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the stat right on the head. They have been fantastic on the offensive side, and they've had to do that because they haven't been very good on the defensive side of the ball, which is a little bit different than you thought Mike Vrabel would bring to the Titans, or at least he did historically. But they are a lot of fun to watch on that offensive side, and Derrick Henry, he is a beast.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that defense. They were awful last year. A couple of key stats I saw, Michael, was they allowed greater than 50% conversion on third down, which is just awful. They had an anemic pass rush with only 19 sacks. They didn't have anybody good on the defensive line other than Jeffrey Simmons. And Michael, they just double teamed him all the time. But they did get him some help upcoming year, defensive end Autry, as well as linebacker Bud Dupree. So I think their defense will be at least improved some over last year.
Yeah, they drafted this kid Jaden Horn out of South Carolina as well as their first round pick. I think he'll be a good addition. But they're going to put up a lot of points and they're going to give up some points. It'll be interesting to see how things shake up towards the end of the year with this division.
All right. So the other half in this division is the Indianapolis Colts. Tell me about them.
Okay, so they went out and they decided to go after try the Carson Wentz experiment, which we saw how that worked most recently for Philadelphia. They do, Jonathan Taylor had a fantastic year, and this offensive line, some say, is the second best in the NFL. I think he's going to have another good year. And they added this kid, Elijah Moore, out of Ole Miss, to be opposite of T.Y. Hilton, who's, showed at the end of the season that maybe he wasn't quite as washed up as at least some fantasy owners might have thought. So their offense is going to, I think, be pretty strong. Eric, what about the defense?
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about the offense first. The quarterback carousel, the fourth quarterback in 4 years for the Colts, Carson Wentz. I'm really interested in how you think he will do this year. I'll give you my opinion. There's some positive and negatives, right? One positive is what you already mentioned, which is they have that great offensive line. They've only allowed 71 sacks in the last 3 years. The Eagles allowed twice that amount in that time period. So Carson Wentz should have more time to throw, even though they did lose their left tackle, Antonio Costanzo. That will hurt some, but it's still going to be much better. And I know you think so much about coaching. Michael, do you think Frank Reich can unlock that potential of Carson Wentz, which he got out of him when he was as offensive coordinator on the Eagles?
Yeah, that's the connection right there. I haven't been that impressed with what Frank Reich has done since the 1 year that he came back, came back late in the season. They did add this kid, Quentin Nelson, to the line as well. I think he's going to make an impact where they had the loss. They're going to push the ball on the ground, which is the right thing for Carson Wentz. He needs that. He has shown that he's not that accurate of a passer, except for what I think in the red zone, which we learned recently.
What a trio of running backs that they have here. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is going to be the featured back, but they have Nyheim Hines as a really nice pass catching back and an insurance policy. They brought back Marlon Mack, who the starter was the year before. So I agree. You can expect them to run the ball a lot.
And they're going to need to do that because they are weak again on the defensive side of the ball. They haven't shown too much prowess there, and so they're going to need to slow the game down, just like the Titans try to slow the game down with the rush. All the Titans can do both. We'll see. I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for Carson Wentz after what was basically should have been the easiest division win in the history of the NFL, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, 7-9 division winning Washington football team. All right, so let's move on to the have-not territory and the Houston Texans. Michael, Houston, we have a problem. They're 4-12 last year, and they're worse this year. Michael, gone is J.J. Watt. Gone is Will Fuller. And almost certainly gone is their star quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who has said very clearly he does not want to play with the team. I was reading just earlier today that he is reporting to camp and did report to camp, but that just was to avoid any fines. It's basically going to be a hold in, putting pressure and play a game of chicken with Houston and saying, look, trade me. I do not want to play for you. So, Michael, they don't have another quarterback of any quality. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. And I'm sorry to say this, Tyrod Taylor is a backup, in my opinion. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. Although with what's going on with Deshaun Watson, they've come out and said that they want to trade him. I'm not sure how the offers are going to be. Kenny Stills, who has an option, is saying he may not come back. This is a year removed from basically giving DeAndre Hopkins away. There's nothing good to say about this team. Their offensive line is in the bottom 10. Their defense is in the bottom 10. I will be shocked if they get a win this year.
We've been just ripping the offense. It doesn't get any better on the defensive side. Last year's defense was legendarily bad. They allowed more rushing yards than any other team, and they allowed quarterbacks to throw 33 touchdowns against them versus 3 interceptions.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when the best coach that you can attract to replace someone is a wide receiver coach. And that's not to say that wide receiver coaches can't become something, but the last time you've seen a wide receiver coach become a head coach, I can't remember. You have to make your move to a coordinator position or a quarterback's coach position or offensive line position if you want to take over a head coaching position. So this is basically desperation time.
This is all good news for the 1-win Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you see for them this year?
I'm excited for Jacksonville. They brought in Urban Meyer to come in and see what he can get done. They got two players out with the first pick with Trevor Lawrence and then Travis Etienne in the backfield to supplement James Robinson. And they still have Chark, right? A fantastic receiver. And they brought this guy in who used to play with Urban Meyer named Tim Tebow. We'll see if he makes his way onto the field. But the guy's a physical beast. I think he could have an impact. He's still young. He's not, a spring chicken.
I like how you went for the sensational headline in Tim Tebow rather than the solid pickup at wide receiver and Marvin Jones Jr., who I think will become likely their number one wide receiver. So there are two main gifts that Jacksonville got for finishing dead last. One is their schedule. They have on their schedule the New York Jets, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Atlanta Falcons, the Denver Broncos, and the Houston Texans twice. So, I think they're going to win. They could quadruple their win total easily.
Easily. I think that's underselling these guys. I think that they're at least going to have 4 wins.
Yeah. And I want to talk, I know you mentioned the big news of Trevor Lawrence. What a big upgrade over what I call the Three Stooges last year that they got between Gardner Minshew, Mike Gleason, and Jake Luton. How good is Trevor Lawrence, and how quickly will he show that talent in the NFL?
Well, playing at Clemson, I mean, again, SEC or Clemson, that part of the ACC, I think has shown their ability to adapt to the NFL because of the team speed that you see in the competition. That is what sets apart some of these college athletes from others. And he has shown, obviously, at the big stage multiple times, the ability to work with that speed, to work opposite that speed. Obviously, he's had the ability to stay safe, and he'll have a little bit to adjust for that, but he has legs as well. He is an NFL quality quarterback. No surprise that he was taken number 1 in the draft.
All right. So let's do some predictions, and then we'll talk about some key fantasy players from the division. The lines makers favored Indianapolis. I'm going to say Tennessee wins the division. When they added Julio Jones, that pushed it over for me. The Colts second. And then I'm going to have Jacksonville leapfrogging Houston based on last year's standings. And the Houston Texans. Not only will they finish last, but this is the team that all NFL Survivor competitors will be tracking. Who plays Houston this week?
Yeah, I think you got it right. I obviously don't have, with how I've picked the rest of the AFC, I don't have any wild card teams left. But I think because of the experience that you have at the quarterback position in this division, this is Tennessee's to lose. They will have to make some big mistakes to, I think, give Carson Wentz a division championship. And I'm a little bit nervous about that, what it also means for that team in terms of winning enough games to get that wild card spot. So I think Titans are alone in the playoffs, and no question that Jacksonville will do better than the Texans. Texans are working for 1 win so that they can keep from being embarrassed before they get the number 1 draft choice in this coming year.
Well, I'm shocked we don't talk about what we're picking before, and I thought I was going to disagree because once again I disagree with the lines makers, but this is a pretty good bet, Michael. I like the plus 110 because look, they have a 50 at worst. I think they have a 50-50 shot because I just do not think Jacksonville and Houston has any chance to win the division. And you get a plus 110. I think I should go ahead and put money on both Tennessee and Indianapolis.
I think that's a pretty safe bet to make $15 or whatever would the difference. Yeah. 10 to $5, right?
Yeah, right. There you go. All right, there's the bet of the week. And just to be clear, I am picking the Colts as a wild card team. They're my final wild card team in the AFC. All right, Michael, I'll let you start it off. Is there a fantasy player that you want to talk about? Let's hope that it won't be the one guy I want to talk about.
Well, it's really tempting to go back to Derrick Henry, but because he's going to have another great year. He's gonna be that bell cow back. But I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a phenomenal year. He ended off really strong. This offensive line actually got stronger with Carson Wentz at the helm. They're going to have to rely heavily on the run, and he's going to be the lead back. Yes, they have other players, and Hines will get his touches, but Taylor is good at pass catcher out of the backfield as well. I like him this year to have a very good fantasy season.
Okay, so I want to give you the flip side. Michael highlighted someone that he likes. I'm going to highlight someone who I think will be picked way, way too early. And it's for fans who aren't paying attention to what's going on. It's Jacksonville's running back, James Robinson. Robinson, he was sensational last year because he was the only guy. Do you know he accounted for 70% of the attempts, the yards, and touchdowns on his team? Nobody else of the rushing yards, nobody else had that. In fact, he touched the ball more than any other back other than Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. That changes completely because of what Jacksonville did in the first round. No, not Trevor Lawrence with the first overall pick. It was their 25th overall pick, and Travis Etienne, who I think is going to take away a lot of the workload and will hurt his value.
I'm glad you brought this up. Urban Meyer is the other reason why you're going to see a lot of spreading of the wealth here. I think James Robinson is a very capable back, and Etienne is new, and they're going to want to make sure he stays somewhat fresh. But Urban Meyer is very famous for spreading the ball around. He's going to bring that mentality to Jacksonville as well. So you have to pay attention to what's happening at the coaching position, especially those who are manning the offense. And Urban Meyer will have a say in how the offense is run.
Hey guys, if you watched this far, do us a favor and click the like button. And if you haven't yet, smash that red subscriber button followed by the bell icon. Michael, always fun doing this. We've wrapped up the AFC, but we still have some NFC shows to do. We will link to the next shows that are upcoming. Until we see you on the next video, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.